is Jessica Webster.
And this is Sam Pogue of the Fitness Break Room podcast. Sit back, take a well-deserved break, and learn about the journey that helps shape the most successful fitness professionals in the industry today.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fitness Break Room podcast. I am your host, Sam Pogue. I'm sitting down here in Austin, Texas with my friend Bret Gornick, founder of Live Better, as well as co-host on the Live Better podcast, retreat thrower extraordinaire, Nike master trainer, coach, Chicago native.
Yep.
What else am I missing? Am I hitting any weird spots yet?
Personal trainer, Barry's boot camp instructor,
Barry's.
and yoga teacher.
Yes, yoga teacher, Barry's boot camp. So there'll be a quiz at the end of the episode if you can name all the different jobs that he does. So
my taxes are not fun.
I'm sure they suck, right? And then you're married.
Yep.
So that's another kink you got to throw in that. It's just a bunch of different fun things that, goes with living your best life.
Yes.
That is not around April 15th for sure. For you.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining me and joining us on the Fitness Break Room.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we just got done filming the Live Better podcast a minute ago in a different room. So trying to change up our own energies and hang out here.
Yeah.
But it's always fun being interviewed instead of being the host, because it's two different games.
For sure.
Being able to be the one that facilitates the conversation and the one that doesn't have to talk much to the one that has to talk all the time.
Yeah.
So, as you guys know, this is all about telling the story about how we got to where they are. Let's go all the way back, mom and dad conceiving you and no, just kidding. You probably don't want to relive that. Tell us about how, what got you into the fitness industry and how you got here to where we're sitting today.
Yeah. So, the biggest thing that got me into fitness was high school athletics. I had a slight shoulder injury in high school. And one of my friends who had a serious injury on tearing his ACL handed me off to his physical therapist, who now is my number one mentor, Dr. Philip Clausen out of Chicago. He actually used to be the Cubs trainer, used to be the Sox trainer, used to be Bruce Springsteen's bodyguard. This guy, talk about a story. He's had an insane story. Now he is he owns his own rehab and chiropractic office in the suburbs of Chicago, and also is the Bahamas strength and conditioning coach for their Olympic team.
Interesting.
Insane. He has a home in the Bahamas and was down there working out with his wife, and the trainer saw him working out and was like, you need to get involved with this. So he trains Olympic level athletes.
Nice. Tons of bobsledders then.
No,
that's Jamaica.
That's Jamaica. Yeah. But it's all down there. And so I went to see him for my shoulder injury, and he helped me nurse a partial tear to my rotator cuff back to health in high school. And once that happened, I started to train with him. And so one of the coolest things about him was he's been in this since day one just because he absolutely loves it. Mm-hmm. And so he has, for the last 20 years now, brought together a community of people just to work out. He was big into bodybuilding, so it was a lot of that growing up. So it was a lot of what I did to work out was specific for basketball because that was my sport.
Okay.
And then he brought in let's get strong and let's get big because I was 130 pounds and 15 years old at the time.
You look like you were massive at one point in time in your life. So
I used to be 220. No, I'm just kidding. So it was sports-specific training, and it was also gaining size and just learning how to move. He was all about standing up straight and posture and alignment and using my body and just crushing it down at that age so that we could perform. So he got me into working out. And the coolest thing about it, looking back at it now, was what I really loved was who he brought together. He said, bring anybody you want in. He never charged any of us $1. He would write us. We lifted every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours. He wrote us an entire program, handed to us. He would do his workout while kind of peppering in and watching us do it. But he kind of made us all learn and do it together so we understood what we were doing, why we were doing it. And so since my sophomore year of high school, I've worked out with him for a long time. So he got me into really understanding health and fitness, and got into eating and nutrition and all that. It all started to work together.
Yeah.
And we worked out together, got really strong, really big, and it was awesome. Went to college, and speaking of my parents, my dad was a successful businessman and my mom was a nurse. And so all I knew were those two things. I didn't know at all about how fitness could lead to a job. I saw personal trainers. I saw people on TV doing things. I saw coaches, but I didn't think that was a viable thing. I learned from my parents, and I was like, I'm going to go study economics. So went to the University of Illinois. I'm from Chicago, right outside the city. And so went down to the University of Illinois and studied economics because I thought I have to go into business. That's the only way to make money. Loved working out. So was working out still a bunch when I was in college. Every time I'd come home in the summer, work out with Doc, get a little bit stronger, then party it all away during the year. But loved, fitness and working out and playing sports.
Yeah.
And so that brought me in, kept me going. After college, I got a job. I was working in data analytics for a huge retail company and did really well at it. Found my niche in that company, was able to help them solve some like big issues that they'd never seen someone at my age solve. I was the fastest promoted person in the company, was doing super amazing things. 6 months in though, and that was over 2 years, but 6 months in, I knew, I was like, this is not what I want to do. Although I'm making money, I'm successful, people are looking up to me, I'm already coaching people, I'm already sitting in meetings with the VP of the business, talking about this solution I found that I'm 6 months in, and it's like, there's no way I should be in that spot. This isn't what I wanted to do. So I was working out a lot. So that job was in Milwaukee. And I knew that my home was always going to be in Chicago. So I didn't spend as much time developing like relationships with people there. I'm more focused on myself growing at that time, which I'm glad I did that, because instead of partying on the weekends, I was developing where I wanted to go. And I was working out a lot. So it was get home from work at 6, work out till 8 or 9, just because I wanted to work out. And I was working out at an awesome Gold's Gym up in Milwaukee. And went up to the personal training manager there and said, hey, I would love to get into this. What do I do? He's like, if you get your certification, I see you here all the time, I'll let you start by subbing if a trainer is out of town or they're sick or a client needs a couple sessions. It's like, all right, sweet. I saw what I was making an hour doing that. I was like, this still isn't a career. Like, there's no way. I'm nowhere close to where I'm at my corporate job, but it's fun and I love it. And it was my highlight of my day. I would come home, I would train a client or two, and then work out, and then go to bed. And it was great. It was like, this was fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad I went that route, because I tested to see, is this something I really actually like to do?
Totally.
So for about a year, I was doing that on and off training game while working. So I was working, training, working out, having a social life, coming back to Chicago, and doing that whole rat race. In the midst of that, had a long distance relationship with my wife now, who was still at school. So every other weekend, it was a 6-hour car drive down to the University of Illinois, or she was coming up to me. So there's just a lot of moving pieces. So to take one of those out, I moved back to Chicago. Still working in a very large corporation. This company, though, I did not enjoy. I went into it, and from day one, it was like, this just isn't, they're not giving me the opportunity to be successful. I have ideas, but they're not letting me speak about them. So I was like, the corporate scene I know now it's not for me. In the midst of that, I had really gotten into the nutrition piece. So I started a Twitter account called Bodies by Bret. Which is probably still out there. I was just trying to get in the game. And I was posting pictures, tweets, and I just remember my friends like laughing at me then, like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't a thing. But I started a superfood organic raw protein bar. I got really into superfoods and juicing and blending and really like high level nutrition, because I was working so much, and then I'd have to go train and be mentally there, and then I'd want to work out, and then I was also doing a lot of training for events, running Tough Mudders, and doing all sorts of like physical activities. Like I need to have more fuel than the average person, because I'm doing a lot more. So I looked for the most bang for the buck and was like, how can I get the most nutrients out of the least amount of food to put in my body? And superfoods were that for me. So I developed this superfood protein bar, and it was super fun. I was learning about how the ingredients work together. I was testing it with people. People loved the taste of it, which is like my number one thing. I was like, I want to make this taste good, but I want it to be the top level possible of nutrients. So I started that, and when I came back to Chicago, I met up with one of my buddies, Jason Lobig, who's the co-founder of Live Better with me. He was working corporate tax. That sucks. He was working 85, 90, 100-hour weeks. super into health and wellness. And we met in college through his fiance now. Went to University of Illinois with me. He went to Miami of Ohio, and so we met as drinking buddies.
Okay.
And I was a bartender in college.
Nice.
And, we drank a lot and had a lot of fun times in college. So we were friends. I see him out at a party one night in Chicago, and this dude's the most energetic, high volume, happiest hug, kiss on the cheek guy you'll meet. And he's like, "Hey, Brett, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Jason, like, what's good, dude?" He's like, "Dog, I just worked a 90-hour week and I have to go back into work tomorrow morning." And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I can't handle this anymore. I was like, "Dude, I don't like what I'm doing either." And we had worked out some times before. And so I was like, let's just sit down. Let's just go to a restaurant. I want to tell you about what I'm doing. And so I sit down. That 1 hour dinner turns into a 6 hour dinner. The next day we meet, the next day we meet, the next day we meet. And now we're 4 years later and we're running retreats in Nicaragua and El Salvador.
Whoa.
And so it has been, and we'll dive further into that, Live Better, but from Doc, who is Dr. Philip Clausen, Doc being my mentor. And every year since we started, my favorite day, pretty much my favorite day of the year is Thanksgiving because of him. He's hosted a Thanksgiving morning workout at 8 a.m. for 20 years.
Oh, shit. That's
cool.
And
I've gone every single year except one when I thought I was too cool and got too drunk on Black Wednesday and then realized that that is not who I want to be. And so he's been my mentor, and he's been the one that's pounded, "Brett, you need to be a personal trainer. Brett, you need to do fitness." And I was like, it's not a real thing. Like, it's just not. But he's always been in my ear, never like over the top, only when I would reach out to him or when I would talk to him. And looking back and just having fond memories of other people when we would work out together, and I would always step up and lead how to form cue, how to do these different things. And they were like, "Oh, you're going to be a trainer one day." And I was like, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Now to sitting here with you, doing this, traveling the world, training, teaching at Barry's Boot Camp, being a Nike trainer in Chicago. It started with me working an insane amount of hours. So my second corporate gig was about 70 hours a week of work.
Yeah.
And I would train a 5 a.m. client, a 6 a.m. client, run home, eat breakfast with my wife so that we stayed sane.
Yeah.
Go to work.
So you did not have a wife
anymore. So I did not have a wife. And she was my fiance at the time, so I still hadn't locked her up yet.
Yeah.
And then it was work and train a client at lunch, and then work until I would literally run. I was like Clark Kent. I would wear my workout clothes underneath my work clothes. My clients had no idea I was doing both things. I would run to this dude's apartment gym, which was like 15 minutes away from my work, in my Clark Kent outfit, rip off my clothes, train this dude for an hour, come back to work, and then train 3 clients at night. So I was working from 5 until about 9 or 10 every night. And then Jason and I would hop on a phone call and throw out all these crazy ass ideas about where we wanted to take Live Better. And that was for about 2 years.
I love it.
It was a lot of grinding, and Sarah, my wife, bless your heart for putting up with that. She was a huge support for me because she knew that there was meaning behind what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that I was living for my passion.
Yeah.
But by no means was any of this handed me. I never studied working out. I never did anything like that. I studied supply and demand, graphs and data analytics and Excel, and I can write a macro. If you need help writing a fitness macro, or you need help analyzing how well your podcast is doing, I'm great at that too.
Totally.
And what's cool is I've used that with our business, but the fitness journey has been incredible because I know it's what I love to do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so awesome. And that's how a lot of our audience starts out is, a lot of people want to dip their toe in the water. Mm-hmm. And, and nothing wrong if you take this route, but a lot of people, I would say, in this industry didn't come from, I went to school for my exercise science degree. I mean, they are now. Kids, like students now are doing that because it's a thing. Proven track.
Yeah.
But you're what, 30?
28.
28. Okay. Yeah. So, there wasn't always this track of, I go to school to be a coach or a trainer or a sports performance, sports scientist, whatever it was. It was like you either worked in the collegiate professional setting or you worked in the personal trainer setting. But it wasn't like there wasn't this hybrid. There weren't these education positions like teaching seminars, doing retreats. Like none of that stuff existed until recently. Yeah. So I love that you tested it out. And like, I'm here all the time. I might as well try it out.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is great because, and I give that advice to anybody, like before you sell everything and go open a gym, like, let's just see if you like this industry first because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. So I love that you did the whole Gold's Gym experience and then moved, right, from the good land to back to Chicago, and then just kept doing it. Like you obviously had a network in Chicago. You were from there, but then just kept chasing that passion because you were just trying to live better.
Yeah, exactly. Good way to put it.
Yeah. And so for you guys, like looking at starting up, obviously the brand and the product that you have now with Live Better is not day one what you guys thought.
Nowhere.
What were the original fruition ideas of what Live Better was going to be? Like if you would have started that first day where you guys met at the house party and that had coffee or dinner the next date, what was the original idea of Live Better?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a really good question. It was interesting. The protein bar was a big part of it because that was a product that I had. And then I had already done training and Jason had voiced about that. So it was kind of like, it's interesting. We had a conversation that night about how we want to help people live the best that they can. And so that's always been the mission, is how can we connect with an individual, figure out what they're either lacking or where they have the most growth potential and hit that on the head. I would say it started with the protein bar. And the training. And so if you would have said day one, if you would have recorded that conversation in Chicago at dinner, it would have been those two things. But there was a couple other jokes made, getting a Live Better island, getting a Live Better jet, like all of these things. Like travel was in the back of the head for sure. And we thought big, and we're still thinking as big as we can. We love the saying, the sky is no longer the limit. There's just there's no limits. It's amazing. And it's come to fruition, and there's still a lot of growth, but it started with connecting multiple facets of health and wellness, and that's where it's developed. Now what we say is we want to use health and wellness as the sustainable fuel to do whatever it is you want to do better. If you want to be a podcast host and you're healthy, you have more energy, you have more excitement, you're going to be better at it. If you're sitting back, you're lazy, you can barely talk, you're not going to do it because you're tired. You were just on an amazing work trip. You come and sit down because you optimize your body, you move and you eat and you do all of these things well because you can sustain energy. And so that's where it's developed now. And there's different silos that we work on. We have five different areas. It's move better, eat better, give better, live better, and just like all around, just like be better. And so there's different ways in which you can work within those, and we want people to find where we can help them. And what's interesting is a lot of our training clients have come in for one of those reasons.
That's awesome.
So we do training, I do nutrition consulting, I do full meal prep with clients. Meditation, yoga, all these different things. So people will come in with one of those needs. They'll come in and say, hey, my diet's really lacking. Can we work on nutrition? Of course. As we're talking, we start to talk about how they have an ache or pain in their back or how they're trying to like lose weight and gain muscle. So we start training. And then it's like all of these different things line up, and then it's becoming mindful about why you're doing it. And it's like where they come in is step one, but then it's like over time, let's give them this toolkit of totally taking everything and just upping their level of life.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to back you up because I'm really intrigued about this food bar. So run me through, like, are you just in your kitchen just hawking up a storm?
Yep.
Just
protein things, goji berries, golden berries, cacao. I just was like, I'm taking full blender, working it on my own. And so it started with, I wanted to make a protein bar that tastes good because there was nothing out there that tasted good. It was all chalk or it was loaded with crap. It was one of the two things.
Remember the old school power bars that were like saltwater taffy, but like frozen?
Yeah, it was insane. Or it's like you look at this, you don't know a single ingredient on the label.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to create something that tastes good and has protein in it and is very good for you at the highest quality. So I just started making recipes and found a couple key ingredients that made the bar taste good, and then started adding in nutritional components, adding in different superfoods for different reasons to hit different vitamins, to work with different levels of protein, carbohydrate, fat, so that it wasn't too much sugar. Like that was a big thing, keeping it low on the glycemic index. And as I developed my nutritional understanding, I started to tinker with the bar a little bit more. And it was super fun. We had a bunch of partnerships set up with some like local juice bars in Chicago, and we were selling it out of my kitchen. We ended up going to a commercial kitchen and producing some stuff there and making labels and all of that. But the reason that ended was slightly on purpose, and also slightly because it isn't where we can make the most impact. And so what we noticed was the conversations we were having with people around the bar. One of my friends would come over and sit down with me for an hour about the bar, and then I'd give him the bar. I would call, my favorite thing in the world to do is to cold email or cold call people that are doing cool shit.
Okay.
I will reach out to anybody 100 times if I know I can provide them value. And at the beginning, I was hitting up all these people. I have a product now, and I was trying to find the people that were doing the coolest things in that health industry I could find. So I'm reaching out to these people, being like, how did you start what you're doing? I'm starting. I have this bar. Like, what recommendations do you have? And these people were so willing to give me information. I'd hop on a phone call with them, and the phone call would last an hour. And I was like, God, I need to record this. This is super cool. So the podcast developed from the protein bar. And then we realized that our number one way to interact with people and the biggest value we could give them is not give them a product, but give them us. Present to them, talk with them, give them a toolkit outside of just one thing. And there's so many other good things out there. We wanted to kind of be this like middleman of knowledge, product, and like theory and relatability, so that we can give that back to somebody. So the podcast developed from the bar. A lot of training relationships developed from the bar. That was kind of like the Kickstarter to doing what we're doing right now.
I think that's absolutely amazing. It's
it's cool.
The things you would never expect to be a valuable thing to your life. Like, even if it doesn't serve you anymore, it served you plenty at that time. And I think that's so awesome that you're like, and I love that you had the foresight to recognize what we were giving people wasn't the bar, it was the conversation around the bar. So, and that it's like recognizing that is like not having tunnel vision around your business, I think is so key, because it allows you to see what else is out there. Because half the time, the mission that you set out on isn't the one that you're going to expect to be on.
No.
Right? No matter what company. I don't care if you're Nike or On It or Live Better or Fitness Break Room, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, you might go in with this intention, but like through experience and through different lenses of perspective and through learning, right? And failing and getting your ass kicked a little bit. Like, I'm sure the bar is not at a net positive revenue number for yourself.
No way.
Yeah, there's
no way.
Like,
or time. Yeah,
right?
Neither.
Like, you're like going, man, my grocery bill's massive. You're like, I just spent $1,000 in fucking goji berries.
I was like looking up bulk containers of goji berries, filling up my closets with all of that stuff. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
What did the bar end up becoming? Like, what was it? What was the flavor of it? And what did
it was like a chocolate flavor. It was called the Live Better Bar. We had just one flavor at the start. It was chocolate. It was amazing. People really loved the taste.
Okay.
So I haven't made it in a long time, but people still ask me, like, can you make that? It was super good. The biggest pain points for it was because it was all raw or organic. It had to be refrigerated. And there are some bars out now that are refrigerated that are doing well, but the amount of time we were putting in, I was hand crimping every package. I was making big cookie sheets and cutting them with these big things. It was like I was going all out on my own. That's like the only way I approach things. It's just 100% full force. I'm thinking now, not only is this, there's going to be costs, so there's going to be overhead. There's ingredients that can go bad. This is a short-term product because it can only really be in the fridge for even like a month, maybe 2. And there's a lot of time going into this. Is this my maximum output to who I want to reach? And the answer was no. And it was never like one day I stopped. It was just like other things started going so well. And that's one thing that Jason and I go back to about what we do. We start doing things and we love it. And things will naturally phase out. But our plan, our mission is always the same.
Yeah.
It is helping people have the best day of their life every single day. And if it's retreats or if it turns into conferences or if the podcast starts taking off, like whatever works the best, we have all these different tools. We're going to use those to make it happen and be totally fine with the fact that things don't work. I mean, we try 800,000 things a day and some things work, some things don't, some things we love. And that's the intersection that we found. We must love it. It must work. If one of those two things doesn't happen, we just move on.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I think it's even more impressive, especially coming from like business school, like that you guys take your tax accountant and economist hats off,
Yeah.
which are not necessarily as like willing to try new shit and like experiment and say, fuck it, we're going to go for it and like learn something from it.
Yeah.
Because the economist hat is very like, well, our break-even point's here.
Yep.
The market trend says this.
Yep.
Like, you know, I mean, but at the same time, like business school is serving you guys very well to
So
be able
well.
to sit and analyze and understand with
Mhm.
what you're trying to do, and then understand like what's the real potential
Yeah.
for everything. So, I mean, yeah, like you're able to take that off and you know hit your flow state or hit your potential like creative outlet.
Yep.
Right, through business and developing, and that's how I am too. I'm not like, creative with my movement. Like I want to go flow around and like create my own flows or movement segments, but like through business, like I find my creativity through business outlets,
Yeah.
which is a ton of fun. You're like, you know, and I think if you guys are out there trying to start a business, like there's two folds to it where, you know, on one hand, someone's like, well, no one's done that yet, or no one's doing it right now. And my analytical side of me is like, maybe there's a reason why, right? On one end, it's like, well, there's probably someone's tried it and it didn't work, or maybe it's just they didn't know how what they were really getting into. But on the other end, it's like it's only weird till it doesn't work, right? And so it's like, you know, I don't care if it's Alpha Brain or a shoe or a podcast. Like, sure, you know, the standard of people are going to say that's stupid, that's not going to work, and then it is stupid only till it does.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now you're sitting here going, yep, now I've got a viable product that we're doing. And so, you know, you sit and bash on it, but at the same time, like maybe the other people just weren't willing to put their eggs in the basket and go full force. And it takes a considerable amount of luck.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like we'd all be naive to think that like we're going to be successful just off of like purely having a cool name or like trying or putting all of our hours into it. Like it does take some work and it does take a couple lucky breaks to do it. So you decided you were going with the bar, and then you knew going in, like you're getting to that point where you're hand cutting everything. Like this isn't the sustainable business solution. What was the next step for you guys then?
So the next step, and this kind of coincided two things at once. Nike training started picking up. And so the way we got involved with that, speaking of luck, I think luck is important, and I think we do a lot to make our own. Once you are on your path and you know that your goals are set out and they're the ones that you want to achieve, things start happening to you, but those wouldn't have happened if you weren't on the path. And so when people see, oh my gosh, you go to Nicaragua and you put on these amazing retreats and it's really cool. It's like, that happened because of that was my goal, and I was going all out at it. So training started to become really huge. We picked up a bunch of clients, and training started becoming big. Bar started to phase out, podcast started to phase in, and at the same time, Nike started to pick up. So the way Nike happened was we were working with a mentor in Chicago who was one of Jason's friends, who's a big trainer in Chicago. And at this point, to be honest, we had really only been training in Chicago for like under a year.
Oh shit.
And he got picked up to do this Nike program in Chicago. And so about 3 years ago, Nike built this warehouse very similar to the On It gym. We were talking about this earlier. And we're putting on these like all out athletic classes. Scottie Pippen, Anthony Rizzo, Bo Jackson, all these guys were coming in and like leading workouts. It was so awesome. And so there's a huge Nike training network. And so before it started, they sat down with some of the top trainers in the city. And so he brought us, our mentor at the time brought us in and was like, hey, these guys are, and we had been doing some work for him, training some of his clients. He was teaching us, we were helping him grow his business, all for free, nothing. We were at that point was getting paid. He brought us in and said, hey, these guys they're humble and they're hungry and they want to learn and they're actually really smart. So we sit down at this round table and everyone introduces themselves, 15 years of experience, 10 years of experience, training pro athletes, CSCS, 15 different certifications. Hi, I have been training for a year and a half, and I've trained people out of Gold's Gym, but I'm ready to learn. And I knew that I still had a lot of knowledge. Although I hadn't put it out yet, I had a lot. And they were super excited that I was that hungry and willing.
Yeah.
And so still working full time at Walgreens corporate at that time. That was what I was doing in Chicago. And got involved with the Nike project. Now, Nike picked up really fast, really quickly, 4 to 5 classes a week, at least, sometimes 8 to 12, training clients, putting on classes at the seminar at this space. So that started really going. So our training stuff started ramping up.
Okay.
Training from Nike went from the warehouse to this Get Out Here challenge, which was in the middle of January in Chicago. They built a barge on the river. It was insane. They had an outdoor workout facility on the river in the winter that we were putting on group fitness.
In January.
As it's snowing. It was nuts. So we're training that. We're training at parks in the city. Like Nike just started doing some really cool stuff. So Nike became a huge part of the brand. The training there was great because not only was I doing it, but I was learning so much.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest pieces from that was Jason and I found another guy named Jason that ended up being our best mentor. He is one of the most educated, smartest trainers I've ever met, understands the body unlike anybody else, and just took us under his wing to learn. So we really started to learn about training and got a lot of education that we could give to clients. People started wanted to work with us. Ex-athletes that had been training at the Nike stuff knew what we were doing and knew how we incorporated it. I got my yoga certification during that time. Jason got his yoga certification. So we were focused on movement first, with the flow, with the breath, with the mindfulness, and then adding in the fitness component. So training started to pick up next. That was kind of like the next phase as the podcast, as the Instagram started to all grow together. And at that point is when we realized we have like a full package and we were ready to quit our jobs. And
yeah.
That was kind of
but how many
step.
hours a week? I mean, you were working, like you said, you're already working 70 hours a week at Walgreens.
There was not really an hour that I wasn't working
right
at that time. That was about 1.5 years, 2 years where I don't even know, like, it's funny to look back because I track how every client I've ever trained on a timetable just to see the hours going up and down.
Mm-hmm. Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Yes,
all
I don't do that at all.
All the Excel stuff is still happening. Like right now, I still analyze like our email list. Like everything is in Excel spreadsheets, and it's great. And like it's so awesome that I have that skill set. Yeah. But I was looking back, and I was like, gosh, I'm training 20 to 30 hours a week. That's just like physical hours in the gym, not including programming. Not including the text messages, the phone calls, the dinners with clients.
Continuing educations,
Nike events, all of that wasn't included. Training, doing Walgreens, and then developing Live Better. I mean, there wasn't an hour in the day unless it was with my phone away, hanging out with my fiance, that I wasn't working. And so I sacrificed a lot during that time.
Yeah.
Sacrificed a lot of time with friends and family. But knowing that eventually I would be able to own my own schedule was, I'm going to put in some grind time, and I'm going to do this for some time, and I'm going to overlap for 2 reasons. One, to know that I love this. If I'm willing to put in this much grind, I love it. And 2, I wanted to make sure it's financially responsible. I had set a standard of where I wanted to live and how I wanted to do that. And I didn't want to dip in that. So I just did both for a long time. And once I was able to realize that all of that could align, pulled the chute, and that was the best day. That was amazing. I go into the meeting with my boss and I said, hey, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks notice, and it's been amazing working here and all that stuff. He's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I started my own business, because I kept them very separate. There was overlap because my Instagram was starting to get big, so people saw what I was doing, but not enough where people thought it was a real thing.
Right.
People thought, oh, he's just a trainer and he just like does stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do Live Better full time. And I'll never forget it. He goes, wow, I'm jealous. That's what my boss said. And so it was really cool because I knew it was the right thing.
Yeah.
I just knew at that time that I was ready to go all out, and I have not looked back since then. I probably work more now than I did when I was working both jobs.
For sure.
but I truly believe that you don't work once you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't use the term work. It is just growth and continuing to improve.
Yeah. It's the entrepreneur's dilemma, if you guys haven't heard of that. It's like I work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
But it's so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a cool feeling that you were not only able to quit your job and not lose a beat, like
not
continue
lose a beat
making,
at all.
like living the same standard of living that you guys are doing.
Yep.
But then that, I'm guessing that the happiness your boss had for you was the final icing on the cake. Because it's tough where if like they're angry or people's instant lash out is to be angry or upset or put you down. But the fact he was like, dude, I'm jealous. Like, good for you. That's awesome. Like, makes it that much easier to like separate and step away.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wow,
this
we
is
must
cool.
be on the right track. We're doing something, because that's really powerful, especially people you command respect from. Even if it's like the job you're not going to continually do, right? It still means that they were happy for you and that they didn't you didn't leave on a bad note.
Yeah, and I found that same support from Sarah, from my parents, And I also had some of the opposite where people were like, what the hell are you going to do? Like, how are you going to do this? A lot of doubt. And for me, I radiate positivity, and that's what I live by, is that it's all about mindset, and it's all about you knowing that you're doing it for a reason and going at that. And so none of the negatives got to me at all. One of my favorite books, which I just read, which I was living at that time still, is called The Four Agreements. And he talks a lot about inbound negativity or gossip and how that can affect you. But if you are mentally strong enough to just push all of that away or block it or receive it and transfer it, you can just do so much more, because that stuff doesn't matter. People are either they just can't fathom it, they're jealous, they're nervous, or they just don't understand. And so if somebody is trying to make this switch, I field a lot of questions about this because I've been in the corporate environment, and now we do a lot of gigs with corporate companies, and people will pull me off to the side and be like, wait, how did you start this? Or I want to do this, or I just got my yoga certification, but I don't want to leave this security. And I think that's a big, big thing, is people aren't willing to leave the secure life.
Yeah.
You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You have a 401k. You have benefits. You have all of these other things. When you travel, it's paid for. Like, all of these things are there for you. But are you really happy? And are you really like really pursuing what you want to do? And you got to find that line. It's interesting to talk to people about that.
I mean, even for me, that like I have a very cool job on it, and like I get to do a lot of really great things. And right now I'm in super grind time, like obviously starting Fitness Break Room, and like I'm as busy as I can be on it right now. But it's like I'm willing to sacrifice not going out on Friday and Saturday nights to invest in this part right now, right? But even then, like I look at like, dude, you work so many hours sometimes, like even just for on it, and it's like, is it? Wait, and I take this, like, don't get me wrong, I love my job, but like it's like you're doing all of this to work for someone else, and it's that whole like, you're making a paycheck to just keep living the life of being trapped. Like you're trapped by your mortgage, you're trapped by your car payment, you're trapped by your social expectations, the clothing that you wear. And like, that's all super true.
Yeah,
like,
I'm like, so true.
And not that you don't enjoy it. Like, I love having nice things. I definitely love having nice like shoes and clothes, but it's like, man, like how would I give that up to do what do I want to do? And so even for me, like I had to reflect and say like, how do I know I'm doing well in life? Because we are competitive. We like to know that we got the promotion, we got the car, we got the vacation. And, I looked at it and was like, okay, I know I'm doing well in my life when I'm able to travel. And not that like I travel a lot for work, not travel that way, but that I could. Like, I'm going to take off and go to Santorini in June, or I'm going to go to Maldives. And like, it's just an option. Yeah. Even if I don't go, it's an option that I could do because my lifestyle and or my finances allow me to live that life.
I think the number one gauge of success is, do you own your time? The biggest excuses I get for why I don't work out, and not me, but for other people, is because I don't have the time. Every single human being has 24 hours a day. Yeah. No one has more. No one has less. Do you own the time? Do you have to do this for somebody else? I never want to preach quitting your job, becoming a personal trainer, or any of that. Yeah. I want you to know that you are doing what you love to do. You like accounting, be the best fucking accounting there ever was. But also make sure that if you want to go home at 6 to play with your kids or go to their Little League game, you are going home at 6 to do that. There's not even a question. There's not even a doubt. And once you make that a priority, it will happen. And I think in society today, there's so many ideas of what success is. You mentioned the clothes, the cars, all of that stuff. And to an outsider, maybe that looks great. But how is your day spent? Like, do you love it? Do you wake up saying, God, I'm going to crush it today? Like, there's the amount of days I wake up and just text Jason or Ryland, our videographer, be like, dog, today is one of those days. I texted them this morning. I'm like, dog, today's one of those days. And they know exactly what I mean, where it's just like, I'm ready to crush. Yeah. And it's all because this is something that we've created and that we own, and that maybe you work more hours than you did, but you own the time and it's something for you and you're not doing it for somebody else. I have no problem with working for a team or for a business or for a company. That is great. But do you love it? Do you own your time? Yeah. Can you work out at 2:00 in the afternoon at your favorite workout class with no questions asked? If that's something you can do, then continue to do that, because that's setting you up for success, because you have the opportunity to make decisions for yourself, which is so important.
I love that example. Like if like taking that class like at 2 p.m., like who works out at 2 p.m.?
Yeah.
Not many people.
No.
But like, hey, if it's important to you, like you love it that much, you're just going to do whatever you can. Like you might stay till 7 at work.
Yep.
So that way you can go and get those 2 hours in or that hour in, or whatever capacity that might be.
And I think what's interesting about that is when we look at the ultra successful, and we'll talk CEOs. In Societal, they run the biggest businesses. Societal, they are successful in that run. If you look at CEOs, there's a couple statistics that have come out. They read the most books out of anybody. So that means they're spending time reading every day, not spending time doing other things. They're reading, they're educating. They also make their own schedules. A lot of them are in meetings and doing things, but if they want to work out in the middle of the afternoon, they do that. I guarantee Aubrey can do that here whenever he wants, and no one would question him. If he had to go to a meeting, he's like, you know what, I need to get my workout in. No one's going to say shit, because that is a priority, because you are using health and wellness to better yourself so that you have more energy units throughout the day to use on what you want to do and how you can make yourself or the business or your relationship or any of that better.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like it's being able to choice.
Yeah.
It's all about choice, right? And like you had to make that choice from like, okay, I'm going to make time to train before, during, and then after work. And then I'm going to make the choice to move back to Chicago. I'm going to make the choice to, sorry, honey, I'm going to work a ton for a little bit.
Yep.
And then I'm going to make the choice to partner with Jason. I'm going to make the choice to invest my time in learning. And like, I mean, that year probably between quitting Walgreens and starting, putting all your eggs in Live Better was probably a really stressful year.
Yeah, it was a lot. I also bought a condo, got married, and traveled a bunch.
Yeah.
So like you have to prioritize. And the choice thing you mentioned is probably like the number one thing.
Yeah.
You make your choices. Nobody else does it. You aren't here because somebody literally dragged you here. You walked in here, you got in your car, you had your coffee, you did everything to get here. Nobody else does it.
Yeah.
And so people are trapped because they have this pressure of somebody else. But at the end of the day, if I went into someone's office and said, let's leave, if they walked up and walked out the door, they walked out the door. It's not like they had to stay in there.
Totally.
We just get trapped because of all these other pressures. It's really hard to break it. It's really hard. And one of the things that we get into on our retreats, which are incredible, is this concept of time. We have a lot of people coming on our retreats for multiple different reasons. They're either transit between jobs, they don't love their job, or they want to become better at their job. Those are like the three main things. And a lot of entrepreneurs too that are just like trying to crush.
Yeah.
And all of them, you need to own your time. So even the entrepreneur that can do whatever they want at every single time of the day, things that lack are self-care, because I'm going to work because I need to make money. So then I'm going to take a time away from my workout or my nutrition because I'm just going to go eat at the cafe that I'm at. And all they have is some crappy sandwich that was microwaved, but I need to get this proposal done for this other thing. It doesn't matter where you're at. You have to prioritize your self-care.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned through working with people in that capacity is the concept of self-love. You have to prioritize yourself. And if you optimize yourself, you can give more out to other people. And so for somebody that doesn't understand that, it sounds very selfish. It sounds like, well, I need to do everything right for me first, and then I'll give everything else out. But it's actually the exact opposite. The people that practice the most self-love are the most selfless. The most selfish people are the practice that don't practice their own self-love, because then they need so much love from other people.
Yeah.
And that need, if I needed you to do something to make me happy, that's selfish. I need you for my own happiness. But if I can produce my own happiness and then give you more happiness, that's selfless. And self-love resonates with moving, with eating right, with sleeping right, with giving back to the community. All of those things come from you. And if we are able to spend more time on ourselves, we can really excel at a higher level. We had a woman, we've had a bunch of people come on our retreats that are just like next level successful. But they go, I haven't worked out in 2 years. I eat just whatever I can. And I'm like, just imagine if you had more energy and like, I don't sleep well and all this. I'm like, but you're crushing it. You are building businesses from the ground up. You have moved mountains in relationships. Imagine if you were always energetic and you slept well and you were healthy, and they're just like, oh my God. And then they start doing it, and then their business takes off, or they quit their job and find something new, or they take on a new passion project. It's like, it's incredible to give somebody this toolkit, see them use it, and then just blast off.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Where did this because I mean, obviously this takes time to learn this. Like, you spent time in the corporate realm, which gives you validity to these people that are working. Like, you know, and the hard part is when you're a trainer, and I experience this now. Like, you know, I was so young when I was training that, you know, my clients now, I look back, I'm like, yeah, I just do it this way, and they're like, yeah, but you don't get it. Like, you don't work, like, you don't have that kind of pressure. And I get that now. Yeah. Like, you know, I have some clients that just, you know, worked for big time advertising firms and traveled out the ass. And they make my travel schedule look like a child that goes on one vacation a year. But like, so you had to shape this lens of perspective. Obviously, you developed it while you were in the corporate jockey setting, and then transitioning in. But it takes time to be introspective enough to want to look back from a step back and say, ooh, what am I really trying to do here? Who am I really becoming? What is my end goal? What is my game? And why am I doing it? How did you shape this lens for yourself so that way you can share this journey with others?
That's a really good question. And I think I started with, I wanted to be ultra successful at work. And that was inherent because I've always been the grinder. So in high school, I played basketball, and I was never the most athletic. I'm not tall. I'm not quick. But I would win every single sprint. There's no doubt in my mind. The one thing I can control is my conditioning and my strength and my effort. I'd win every single sprint. And I got knocked down a bunch in high school. I got cut from my basketball team both my junior and senior year, and went back full throttle both times, did everything I could to get on the team, and just had the rug pulled out. So I always had this grind mentality, because no matter what knocked me down, I was able to get back up and build from it. And that's a hard thing to teach. So when I went into the corporate setting, I was like, how can I become the best at this? How can I have energy? How can I do all this? And it was optimizing my time working out, eating well, and being mindful, so that when I'm at work, everything is clear. I would see a problem in a different way and find a different solution and go present it to my manager. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like, no one's ever thought about this. And optimization, from an audit term, has been something I love. My title at Live Better is Chief Optimization Officer.
I love it.
And the reason that is because I think you can optimize so many different things. So it was creating routines throughout the day that got me kickstarted in the morning when I had my corporate job. It was making sure that all my clothes were set out, making sure all my food was packed, all my food was meal prepped, all of these little things. And I love using the decision fatigue type of analysis of everybody has the same amount of points. Now, maybe some people have more points throughout the day if you're whatever, but say you and I have 100 points throughout the day of brain power units. If you are using decisions at 11 o'clock on what you're going to eat for lunch, if you use decisions in the morning for what color socks you're going to wear, if you use decisions for, am I going to work out tonight? I don't know, I got to go home and get my gym bag. Then the big meeting comes up at 2 p.m. You've already thrown away 60 of your points on nonsense bullshit. You're going to that meeting with less units up top to crush. If all of that stuff was taken care of for, you had your food prepped, you had your workout class scheduled and booked, you had all of your clothes ready the night before, you had your journal set out, so you journaled your intention for the day. All of this stuff is already created for you. You have more units to give to your job, to your wife, to your life, to your pet, to your kid. So I was really into routine development so that I could do really well at my job. And found that very quickly. And then the optimization piece was I looked at ways we were doing processes at work. I was an analyst, so you come in, they're like, this is how we do it. Just do it, and eventually you get promoted. I would take a step back and be like, is this the best way to do this? Literally like Excel-driven process at work. Copy and paste this into this column, drag it down, move it around. I was like, I can create something that does this automatically.
Analyzing the analyst.
Yeah, literally. So I went to my boss and I said, every single analyst, there's 140 analysts at the company.
Oh my God.
Every single one. Yeah. Every single one. It's $1 billion. I was at Kohl's Corporate. It's $1 billion company. Spends 4 hours a week doing this one process. Give me 2 weeks. Let me just take a break from my job, and I can create this process in the click of a button through Excel macros, which is making things move really fast in Excel, so you don't have to copy and paste shit. He's like, all right, so let me do it. So in 2 weeks, I took a process that every analyst does for 4 hours a week and made it in the click of a button. So you do 4 times 150 people. It's a lot of time that we gave back to the company, a lot of money that we gave back. And he was like, oh, wow, this is real. We can do some cool stuff with this. Then I started using that for the business that we were doing. I was actually, when I was at Kohl's, I worked in men's athletic shoes. So I was working with Nike, and I was actually kind of cool. But I also like did some processes there of like, how can we make the sales happen? How can I take some things that we're doing, how we're shipping things to stores, and optimizing that? So it was all like an optimization mindset and a continual improvement mindset. This is where we're at today. Every day you have an opportunity to improve. And so it started with solely excelling at work, and coming back to, I want this to be the best process possible so I have more time to think about grander ideas. And use less brain power units on nominal tasks and give myself more opportunity to think big.
I love it. Yeah. I think that's so great. I sure hope that you kind of deal with them. Like, I want 10%
one of my biggest mistakes I ever made
of how much money I save you, motherfuckers.
I mean, in the long term, it'll be billions of dollars. Like crazy amount of time.
Should call your boss. So remember,
he knows. He knows. He was hyped because.
You made him look really good for no money.
Yeah, he loved it. And that was another thing.
Homie got promoted for sure.
Yeah, it was another thing though. It was like, I'm doing this. What's my return in this environment? It's okay. I'll get promoted quickly to the next job. Great, but if this was my business and I figured this out on my own, there's a lot of money coming in. There's a lot more time. 4 hours a week. Get rid of it. Now I have 4 hours a week. I could do anything I want. I can do anything I want for this 4 hours, and the same amount of work will get done. So now I'm giving myself more time. So that's how I assess everything at Live Better now, is how much time is going in, what's the yield, and are we making the most impact? And that goes from the protein bar to the podcast to the retreat. All of those things, we're thinking about that for sure.
Interesting. Do you have like a time management template on Excel that you could like distribute to other trainers? like
that's another good business idea.
Plug in the hours that you spend sleeping, eating, shitting, training, programming, reading, right? And it gives you this score.
Yeah.
Right. And then you could like take a bunch of people and like have
I'll think about that.
You know, and like, successful trainers get like 92s or whatever, right?
It's a good idea. Maybe I'll build that out.
I'm not that person at all.
Yeah.
Like I rely purely on like, you have a lot of social bandwidth. You will grind till others won't grind anymore.
Which you need both.
Which I need both, right?
Yeah.
And like, but where I'm not successful is like, I'm not intrinsically, like I look back and like analyze, how did I do? What was I doing? I pay attention, like, oh, that didn't go well. I'll just redo it this next time. But like for me, like I need to have someone not only who's grounded, that like is there to like pull me back from like, hey, shiny light syndrome guy, come back to earth, right? Or hey, focus on this task for just 1 minute, right? Because like I always look at it like if you're going to remodel your house, right? You have kitchen, bathroom, master bedroom, let's just say.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to gut my kitchen, tear out my toilet, and then rip out my bed in my bedroom all the same day because now I don't have anywhere to eat, I have nowhere to shit, and I don't have nowhere to sleep, right? So I want to finish my kitchen so that way I have somewhere to eat. Then I want to finish my bathroom so I have somewhere to shit after I eat. And then I want to have my bed
to sleep when you're not.
But I can't, if I have my kitchen working for me, then I can eat while I'm working on my bathroom, and then I still have my bedroom. And then I have my kitchen and my bedroom done, or bathroom done, so I can sleep. And then so that way you constantly have things working for you. And like I need that, you know, to sit there and look at like, ooh, what can I do better?
I think two points off that. One is physical item that I think everyone should have in their toolkit is a journal. I recommend one called the 1 line a day. It's been the most amazing thing. Actually, my wife was the one that introduced me to it. What it is, it's a 5-year-long journal. Every single page is a day. So it's January, April, March, whatever, 15th. The first couple lines are you write the year. So it would be 2018. The next year, when you come back to that page, there's another section for 2019, 2020, 2021. It's 5 years long. I've done it every day. I'm on my 5th year. So I look back every single day. I'll open up tomorrow's date, look back at what happened in 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014 for that day. So cataloging ideas, you can do this for your fitness journey. You can. I just like to kind of like summarize the day and talk about my emotions and some highlights. From a reflective tool, it's been amazing. Ever since I introduced the best day ever mindset about 3 years ago, I write best day ever every single day at the bottom, no matter what happened.
Yeah.
Anything that happened, death in the family, we lost a spot on a retreat, anything bad, horrible fight with somebody, still write it in because that mindset has to just keep going. And it's been really interesting to see because it catalogs everything. So you can go back and see your journey. You can go back and I can see Live Better starting in that journal. It's incredible. I can see my life progressing with friends, with family in that journal. So I think that's really important. I think journaling in some capacity, there's a million tools you can use. I love that one specifically. Secondly, I think it's really important to have a partner. So Jason and I counterbalance each other. In so many different ways. We share the same mission. He's very detail oriented and methodical, and I'm very like, let's go at it and then see how it did. Yep. So it's like, let's test hard and then let's learn later.
Yeah.
And so we really balance each other out because I'll be like, let's do this, this, and this. And he'll be like, all right, let's do one. And let's do it very well. And then I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I'll analyze it. And then I'll say, okay, this is how it did. So we come up together very well because I have the lofty ideas. He grounds me. So like I'll come out with an idea for a blog. He'll edit it because I'll have 1,500 spelling errors because I just like think too fast. Yeah. And then I'll analyze how well did this blog do versus this blog versus this blog. And then let's say, okay, fitness is doing really well for us. Let's do more fitness stuff. So we work very well as a team. And I think you can find that in relationships in any capacity, whether it's a significant other or anything like that. And we mentioned talking earlier about the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
That's a #1 book I would recommend to anybody in any sort of relationship. My wife and I read that on our honeymoon, actually, because it was gifted to us, and it's been unbelievable for our relationship. Bold move. We went at it hardcore. We were like, we're just going at it. That book right there has been a catalyst in our relationship in so many ways, and learned pieces of how that love language translates to non-intimate relationships.
Totally.
How do you receive? How do you give? What do you need? And once you learn what somebody needs, and once you know what the different love languages are, or interaction languages, whatever you want to call it, you can assess somebody very quickly and see what they need. And then you can just start giving them that, and then they'll start giving back to you.
Yeah.
And so I think there's some beauty in that too.
What are your love languages?
Physical touch is really important for me.
I did not touch you enough during that session. I apologize. We will do it again, and I will touch you way more.
Physical touch is big. And then quality time.
Nice.
So both of those to me are very important. And together, they're pretty split 50-50.
Oh, wow.
And I think when I assess myself, if I was to think, it's exactly it.
Yeah.
Especially, with my wife, it's like I like to hold her hand and hug her, and then I like to spend time with her. And it's like those two things work very well. And then hers is quality time. And for me, that was a big learning because I was giving her other things. I was giving her a lot of different love languages and things that I thought were really important. One of the things I thought was really important for her was her coming home to the cleanest house and a dinner made. And although she loved it, and that's the biggest thing about that book is you'll still feel loved in that way. If I would do that and then go sit on Instagram at night, make her the dinner, beautiful home, everything's ready, Instagram all night, she felt like shit.
Yeah.
If I didn't have dinner ready and the apartment had some shoes all over it, but we were connecting the entire evening, chatting, talking, asking questions about her day, she felt elated. So that learning, and then you learn that across other relationships is very important.
Yeah. Did you have Jason read it as well?
I had Jason. Actually, Jason hasn't read it yet. It's on his list. He's gonna read it. I'm gonna make him read. I was like, he's engaged now. I was like, you got to read that book. You got to learn that, and you got to learn. Him and I are on the same page with our kind of business languages, and so that's super helpful. Is being able to be on the same page and also being able to dish out and hear back what you want and being open to receiving it.
Interesting. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have that as a part of the curriculum for your retreats? To at least go into some of it?
Yeah. So we go into the book that we give out on a retreat is The Alchemist.
Okay.
Which is an amazing story. And if you haven't read that yet, make it the next book on your list. It dives into your journey, why you're doing what you're doing, which again we've been hitting on all day of the why, and continuing on a path, and in knowing that at the end of the path never ends, but it keeps getting better along the way. And then we dive into that. So one of the cool aspects about our retreat is the community aspect is vital. So on our last retreat, we had 29 participants come down to Nicaragua, and every day there's yoga, there's meditation, there's a mobility workshop in the morning. So we get some soft tissue work in, some activation of the body so that you're prepped and ready for the day. We're surfing, we're eating well. All of this kind of gives you this catalyst. One of the really cool pieces, though, is we do one-on-one coaching with everybody. And so we sit down with each individual person. Why are you here? Where do you want to go? And what can we help you with? And so for the love language piece, reading that book, immediately I know, what does this person need to hear? Where are they trying to go? And how can I give them the knowledge in the correct way? It's like people are auditory learners or can learn by writing. It's a very similar way to do that. And so learning how people receive my information and what I can give them then throughout the whole week. Does this person just need a fucking hug?
Yeah.
Do they need me to just give them a hug and say, you're crushing? Or do they need me them to just sit down with them, offshoot, and have a coffee with them every single morning? Or do they just need me to be a whip them in the ass in a workout?
Yeah.
Everyone needs different things, and you can really learn that very quickly once you have that understanding. And so we tell people about that, and relationships come up a lot. So I'm always gifting out that book. We have a suggested reading list, and that's on the list for sure. So I think just incorporating these different like nuggets of knowledge and then being able to regurgitate them and give them to other people is huge.
How did you guys start a retreat? Because that's a relatively new thing that's on the
Yeah.
market right now. Like going to a destination, not to go sit on, circus cruise or whatever it's called, carnival cruise, get shwasted, which don't get me wrong, like I can do with the best of them. It's not the choice I choose to usually live, right? But like Nicaragua of all places, how did you get sales? Like run me through the process of like starting a retreat, because I'm sure a lot of people are going, wait, they do what? Because some people, obviously in our circle, we hear about people doing it a lot, right? But a lot of people are going,
where we go?
Wait, what? A retreat? A what? You're doing what?
Yeah.
So run us through
So
that.
it started talking about luck. One of my clients runs a consulting business that consults for countries in Central America. He helps them with their tourism.
Okay.
He's been one of my training clients for years, and he's amazing. And I had talked to him about this retreat idea for a long time. Jason and I found this amazing place called Madeiras Village, which is where we just hosted our last retreat years ago on Instagram. One of his friends went and was like, you guys got to check this out. We were like, oh, we just want to travel to this spot. It's super tight. And we were like, oh, we could host retreats there. Like there's yoga retreats going on. And so retreats and travel, Jason and I always wanted to travel for work. It was a big thing. We wanted to travel and create experiences. And so retreats always were on the back burner. So my client says, hey, you know what? I have this thing in El Salvador. It was one of the countries he helps with their tourism. It is a convention for travel agents and writers to go down. Let's pretend you're a travel agent. You and Jason own a travel agency, is what we're going to tell everybody.
Okay.
And you're going to go down and do this. And your videographer is going to come, and he's like, if you can give me some cool photo and video from the trip and I can use it to pitch back to them for some content, you guys can go down for free. Of course we're going to go do this. This is lit.
Right.
Where the hell is El Salvador? Like, we didn't know. It's like, what is this? Is it safe? Can we do all this? So we go down to El Salvador, and we were like kind of just like doing it as like a trip to like just to learn. Now, on that trip, it wasn't retreat specific. It was just traveling around the country, learning about different destinations, meeting with the airline companies, the hotels, and all of that. We go to one meeting, and it's a big convention. And what's set up is booths for different people, transfer companies, airports, hotels, restaurants, so that if a travel agent would go down, they could meet with all these different people. And then if you're traveling to El Salvador, here's the best restaurants. Here's the way to get from this place to this place. Here's the best tours. We sit down at one spot. It's called Los Flores Resort. And we're like, this place is sick. It is a surf resort. It is all holistic in its approach. It's got good food. It's got really cool rooms. We're like, this is where we need to host a retreat. We need to do this. So this is the last full day. We get to this meeting at 8 a.m. We go, we need to go see this right now. We need to do this. And so I go to my client. I'm like, we're going to skip the rest of our conversations and we're going to go here. It's a 3.5 hour drive to the resort. And so he's like, all right, figure out a way to get there. So we go to the guy that runs the resort. We need a car. So they set up this car. We're in El Salvador. We have no idea what's going on. Some dude picks us up in a random car, not even a taxi, and we hope we know where we're going. So
And he's not going to shank you.
Yeah, he just sends us to this resort. And so we get to the resort, and we probably get there at about like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mind you, we have to be back downtown at 8 p.m. for this last dinner. So we spend 2 hours there. We hit a bunch of waves. We take a bunch of photos. We meet with the guy that runs it. We meet with the guy that does the property. And we're like, no doubt. We step onto this resort. We're like, there is no question in our minds. This is where we're going to host a retreat. You just walk in. The waves are coming in. It is incredible. And we took this shady car to get there. We just like figured out a way to do it. We were on our personal legend, which is like a term from The Alchemist. Actually, Jason was reading The Alchemist in the car to that. And it was nuts. Like all these parallels started lining up. We come back. We like barely make it back for the dinner. We get lost on the road home. Like all of this stuff that was like scary and definitely not the safest way to go do it. But we just went out and did it. And so we get back and we come back home. We're like, we're going to host a retreat there.
Yeah.
So essentially, we were able to line up a few different really cool opportunities. We hosted an influencer marketing trip down there where we created a retreat curriculum, and we invited a bunch of photographers and videographers, and El Salvador was able to help us make that happen. And so that was great for marketing. It was also great for us to test it out, and it was also great for us to meet with a bunch of really cool people.
Yeah.
So we hosted our first one down there with 8 big social media influencers, some of the coolest people that we've ever met.
Did you guys pay for them? They paid for it.
El Salvador was able to front the bill because it was a content exchange. So they all created content for it. We created content for the resort. We got the airline involved, all this really cool stuff. And it was like us doing all this. Like we were reaching out to people that couldn't speak English and like got our flights like 2 days before the trip, like everything, but it worked. And the retreat went amazing. So one of the coolest stories about anything we've ever done, we had a guy come down on that retreat, on that influencer retreat. And our goal for that was to do our programming on people, to test it, and then to create awareness. That was like the only 2 things. We had a guy come down on that retreat who actually was El Salvadorian and had fled during their civil war with his mom to LA. He turned into an amazing photographer, one of the coolest people in the world. When we asked him to come, he was like, wow, this is the fact that you're asking me to come. He's like, I haven't been back to El Salvador in 25 years. I haven't seen my mom, who lives back down in El Salvador, in 10 years. He's like, this would be life-changing for me to go. He comes down, and we host this incredible experience. And the retreat curriculum went incredible. Everybody got so much out of it. It was amazing. He ended up extending his trip, staying with his family for a month, moving back to Central America because of our trip.
Wow.
Changed his entire life path. We just hosted our last trip in Nicaragua. He came down from wherever he was at in Central America at the time and went on our last retreat in Nicaragua.
Wow.
And now he's making his way down to Panama and all these cool, amazing places. So literally changed the course of his life in a week. To now he moved from LA, doing this amazing work as a photographer down there, traveling Central America, spending time with his family that he hasn't seen in 20 years, reconnecting with so many amazing people. So that happened. And then from there, we hosted our first paid retreat, which was open to the public, at the same place in El Salvador. Now, El Salvador was tough because nobody knows where that is. No one knows if it's safe. It's hard to get there. You have to take 2 flights to get down there. It's a long drive. So our barriers to entry were super high. But we made it work. And we had 14 people come on our first trip. A lot of people that we had a connection with in Chicago through some of the stuff that we did there, through Barry's Boot Camp, through all of our entrepreneurial efforts, through Nike. People like loved what we were doing. And then we just hosted our last one in Nicaragua, which we had 29 people. We're launching our next one, which is in November, back in El Salvador, coming up soon. So it's just started to build, and the curriculum has built from the first one. And we've educated ourselves in so many different ways. Jason and I lead everything: the mobility, the yoga, the meditation, the sound baths, the one-on-one sessions, the nutrition workshops. We have a full superfood tonic bar there with all these herbs and spices and superfoods and supplements and stuff like that so that people can optimize their health while they're there. We really want to make it just the most impactful week for people's lives.
Nice.
Yeah.
And did you guys it's one thing to put this together
Yeah.
and like do it and like, okay, my vision is this is what's going to happen, but that doesn't always work out for a lot of people.
No.
Right. And then obviously on the front end, we're in a day and age where like content marketing's super big. Like, did you guys have to learn how to like, obviously you had a lot of influencers and video and digital assets, but like learning how to create like landing pages and writing sales copy and everything else. Like, how did you guys get into that?
One thing that Jason and I, maybe to a fault, is we don't like to pay for anything. So we just learn how to do it.
Yeah.
We built our entire website. The only employee we have is our videographer, and he's our head of creative. And so he does all the video editing, all the photography, puts together really cool like pitch decks and stuff like that that we send to brands and stuff as well. But we just do it all. Like we literally is like, this needs to get done to do it. Let's figure out a way to do it and let's get it done.
Nice.
And we just do it.
Nice. That's awesome. And then obviously that mindset's what got you even to this point in time, like to be at Walgreens and Kohl's, to going to Gold's Gym, to this idea of quitting my job and then getting involved with Nike, but still teaching classes. And you still train clients, right?
Oh yeah, still train clients. Still train clients. Teach a bunch of classes at Barry's Boot Camp now. So definitely doing a lot of different things. And I think that's actually my favorite thing, is that I do a lot of different things. I don't want to just do one thing. People ask me like, oh, if you went all in at this, would it do better? And I'm like, maybe, but it wouldn't be as satisfying to me. I like getting on a microphone, blasting house music and telling people to sprint their lights out and then walking out being super hype.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about a lot of those opportunities is that they just built on top of each other. So I have a big mobility background now. We noticed that a lot of clients at Barry's were either getting injured or wanted to increase their performance. So Jason and I started the only other class ever offered at Barry's Boot Camp. Barry's Boot Camp is a worldwide company called Release, which is all myofascial stretch and activation work. And we teach it twice a week. And we're selling out those classes every single week. People have never been on a foam roller before. We were talking in our thing about reaching overhead. People squat, they don't know what they're doing. And I'm teaching 65 people, so it's hard to cue everybody. So we can get into this smaller group format, teaching people how to activate their glutes, teaching people what their piriformis is or what their psoas is, and learning about their bodies so that then they can go perform better or that they can decrease injury. The mobility piece for us has been really important. We learn a lot from that. We're able to translate that onto our retreats. So it's like, there's so many different things, and I would have never done that if I had not done Nike, because at Nike, one of the silos is mobility. It's mobility, strength, and conditioning, and so I got really into mobility stuff. So Nike then came into that. So it's like everything is building on each other, but again, it's like being on this path to here. As long as you stay right in this bandwidth, like it just works.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I really appreciate that you're always looking at like, how can I improve or how can I better. Not just like what you're going to get out of it, but like how can I take what you're already doing and then add value to it?
Yeah.
Right?
I think the number one thing, when we talk a lot of the questions we field on our retreats are around nutrition. And I always talk about it. There's a million different theories.
Totally.
Keto, intermittent fasting, whatever it is.
Paleo,
vegan, vegetarian, and whatever it is, superfoods, whatever. My whole thing is we're all at a baseline right here. This is our baseline. Continual improvement. If today I'm here and tomorrow I can just add one thing, and in 2 weeks I can add one thing, and then in 4 weeks I'm adding 3 things, taking one thing out. If I'm thinking I need to continually improve at whatever it is, nutrition being a very good baseline, because people get nervous that they want to go on this fad diet and they do it for 2 weeks and they lose a bunch of weight and then they crash back out. If you just took small steps and you just continue to get better, you continue to educate yourself and continue to feel how your body is changing. That was one thing we did in our workout this morning, was you kept going back to, how are you feeling here? Do you notice what leg is doing more work? How do you feel your body? People just go through things. They just eat the smoothie and do the heavy lift and then go home. But did you feel the muscles working? Did you understand that this piece of the nutrition puzzle was here to help you perform better? Did you string this along for 3 weeks and then notice, wow, my energy's gone up, my sleep's gotten better, I'm less stressed, I can breathe better? Oh, it's because I've added X, Y, and Z to my diet. So I think the continual improvement mindset is something that we can all work on. And what's interesting about that is there's going to be days that you don't do well, that you dip, and that's perfectly okay, as long as the trend is up. You look at the economy, it trends up. That's why if you invest now, in 60 years, you're going to have money. I was listening to one of your podcasts about about like business sides and investing in your 401k. And there was an example of like a 26-year-old was asking, I'm going to wait until I'm 30 to start investing. And the guy was like, okay, that's fine. But do you realize that if you put down $6,000 now, by the time you retire, that $6,000 will have grown to $85,000. It's the same thing with your life.
Yeah.
If you put in a little bit today, it's better than starting in 4 years. And it's better to just clink up the chain and just do a little bit at a time. And I think that is something that we can all assess ourselves. And there's a million markers to do that, to define what you think your success is, whether that's you're going to get blood work and see your vitamin levels, or you're going to just see how you feel.
Yeah.
The one line a day is a great way to do that. How do I feel every day? Okay, I made this change. I look back. Okay, over the last 2 weeks, I've made this change. Wow, I feel better. I've tracked it. So tracking progress, I think, is really important, and that's why it's nice to train and to track and to see those different things.
Yeah.
I think just having that mindset in everything is huge.
Yeah. Like, I mean, tracking every day, like I'm a terrible tracker, but it's like you wake up like, I'm tired of feeling like shit every morning. You're like, wow, I felt like shit every morning I've woken up for like the last year and a half. That sucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's change that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it doesn't come back until like we have that introspective self-reflection time. And not everybody is going to get off on doing it with a journal or whatever. And you got to find the solution that works for you.
There's a million things you can do. And I even talking about food, for example, going back to that.
Yeah.
If you hate broccoli, never eat broccoli.
Right.
There's 800,000 other vegetables you can eat. Don't force yourself to eat something you don't like.
Yeah.
That was the protein bar thing I get into. Don't eat a shitty protein bar if it doesn't taste good. Just don't do it. You hate cauliflower rice. Oh shit. Don't eat it. It's just like that easy. But we just think that this is the only thing. When in reality, there's a million ways, there's a million tracks you can do it. Are you progressing up? Yes. If that's the answer, continue to do that thing. Set a new baseline today. That was better than yesterday. In 6 months, your baseline's higher than it was today. So yes, we started with Wonder Bread and Jif peanut butter. And now we're at like superfood goji berry toast on gluten-free bread. That didn't happen overnight.
Right.
It wasn't like one day I went from here to here. It was like, okay, now I'm going to go Sprouted, and now I'm going to get organic peanut butter, and now I'm going to go get like Wild Jungle peanut butter. But it was like this and this and this was years and years and years. So people look at the smoothie bowls. I'm very into like high-level nutrition, and I love like smoothie bowls and acai bowls, and people are like, oh, that's so weird. That wasn't overnight. That was 5 years ago. I would go to the grocery store and eat like 15 chicken breasts a day because I thought that was what healthy at that point. But that was my baseline. And I've just continued to educate and improve. And now I'm at a place where I'm eating less food, feeling better, doing all sorts of crazy things with my body to the average person. But I feel really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you find that like I get this, I travel a lot and you guys travel a lot. I get so much like the Uber driver, the Lyft driver, whatever, taxi cab. They're like, oh, what are you doing here? And it's always like, oh, yeah, I'm here for work. Like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I work in the fitness industry. And they're like, I've been meaning to, and it's always, right? But every Uber I took in Philadelphia I had that question, like every single person. And it was like, oh, I've really just been like needing to do something. And I'm like, get out and walk. Walking, I think, is the most undervalued, underutilized tool of fitness. Right. Start with 5 minutes. Is this what you do full time? Great. After every fifth ride, you get out, stop at a parking lot, walk around the block and come back. Right. Yeah. Or drink a glass of water before you have your coffee or soda or whatever it is. Just one.
Yeah. One thing.
And, my favorite expression is just don't be shitty. You don't got to be perfect. Just don't be shitty. Yeah. How was your coffee? It wasn't shitty. It wasn't the best cup. It wasn't the worst cup. Yeah. Right. Just kind of like, and that doesn't work for everything, but it's like just incrementally get a little bit better. And I love that's your guys' mindset and how you guys choose to help people in these retreats. And as you guys are going through this journey, it's not about battling or thinking that they're doing something you're not doing or I can do it better. Yeah. Right. And obviously business operates that way, but it's what are they doing that's like, oh my gosh, when I look at a video on Instagram and I look at a coach, like I'm judging that coach based on how well their client is moving or their athlete is particularly moving. But I'm also like, what verbiage are they using when they write? Like, how are they helping people? And like, it's not about like, well, they could have done it this better or this is how I would have done it. But like, I'm not in that scenario. Yeah. So I just want to appreciate that you're doing really good work. Yeah. Right. And so I really appreciate you guys are just doing really cool work.
Sweet. Thanks.
Helping people. And I mean, doing it in a cool way. Like it's going to Nicaragua.
It's not bad.
It's not shitty.
It's not shitty.
It's not shitty.
It is not.
How was your day? I went to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
For what? Work.
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you do? Yoga, ate some cool superfoods, went on some surfing, like hung out with my wife, my business partner. You know, it's like, wait, what? Did you just say that was work?
That was work. Yeah, we got paid for that.
Yeah, we got paid, right? And actually going to take a vacation after that.
Yeah.
Because we're going to celebrate that went well.
Yep.
So that's super awesome, man.
Yeah,
what's
really
next for the Live Better crew?
Yeah, so retreats are big. That's kind of like one of the big things we're going on. And then it's some more local stuff in Chicago. So the barriers to entry for people coming on the retreats is time commitment and the financial. So we want to impact people, a lot of people doing different things. So we've got a couple cool things in the pipeline. One of those is some more local stuff around Chicagoland area. Cool. We're looking at some spots in Wisconsin and Michigan to do some more like weekend getaways. And then do some more like one-off events in the city so that we can get this community to grow so that people don't have to give up that amount of time but can still get a lot out of it.
Yeah, weekend retreats, like a weekend staycation.
Yeah, stuff like that.
For people
city
who
stuff.
Like, just unwilling to like get out.
Yeah.
Like even if they don't have to stay the night somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it'd be great if they could.
Yeah.
Like don't stay in your own house. Like, to be honest, like people always ask, like, don't you hate traveling? I'm like, I actually kind of sleep better on the road.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I need to do the dishes. I need to mop my floor. I need to do this. Or I need to do this. Right. So I mean, I think that's awesome. I think it's a really great way. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to help everybody else live better.
Live better.
Live
every
better.
single day.
What is a piece of advice that you have for brand new trainers or coaches getting into this industry that they can take with them today to help be more successful tomorrow?
The number one thing that I would say for anybody that's trying to get into this is find a mentor. For me, you can be the smartest, you can be the most educated, you can have the most certifications, but if you don't learn from somebody and with somebody, you can't translate the knowledge. And I think finding somebody that you know, that you look up to, and that's also willing to help you, and you're going to have to volunteer a lot of time along the way. So it's kind of twofold, is be willing to do stuff for them as well. They're going to give you their time. So I thank other Jason for being one of the biggest mentors, for Doc being one of my biggest mentors. Neither of them asked me to do anything, but I did a lot. I did a lot for them. And I think learning from somebody who is successful, it translates beyond just the knowledge that you get from them. You learn how they interact with people. You learn how they build programs or how they've created their brand and how they've done things beyond just saying, keep your knees out when you squat, or keep your elbows in when you're doing a bicep curl. There's a way more to training than just that. So finding somebody that's willing to teach you and then helping them to do whatever it is that they want to do has been the biggest thing for me. And now that I'm in a position where I can help others, if someone came up to you, someone that was trying to learn, and asked, hey, can you teach me this? It's very rare that you're going to say no. Like you want to help. So it's cool now to help people get into this industry as well, and just see that if I can spark them on one piece, like, oh, it's so fulfilling. And so I just thank my mentors because they were so monumental. It's been amazing. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I, was the one to seek them out and ask for their help. Be so humble. Asking for help is not a weakness. Ask everyone for help. You helped me today in training in ways I didn't learn. I didn't know how to do things. I am a very high accomplished trainer in Chicago and train a bunch of really awesome people. I learned so much today because I was just asked you to train me. I was like, yo, can you help me learn? And you said, of course I'll help you do that. So you never are the smartest person. There's always people that can help you get better. So ask for help, be with them, and get a mentor.
I love
it's
it.
Huge.
I love it. Yeah, what's the expression? If you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new room.
Yeah. Get out.
Right?
You never want to do that.
Oh, that's not good. Where can people find you guys?
Yeah, so our website is livebetterco.org. I have my own Instagram, which is Bret, only with one T, _Gornick, Gornik. Our Live Better is our Instagram is livebetterco. So those are probably our top spots, our website, and then our podcast as well is on iTunes and all sorts of other things, which is the Live Better Show. Perfect. So there's a lot of different ways to find out Instagram, our website, and shoot me an email if you need anything too, or a DM on Instagram. I'm always down to chat.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much for dropping by the Fitness Break Room and hanging out with me today. And
it's been awesome.
Doing just a full day. Best day ever.
Best day ever, baby.
So yeah, I really appreciate that. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed the show. And if you guys are in Chicago, hit him up and go check him out. And maybe we'll get another show in with Jason when I'm in Chicago in June for the Phillies Cubs series.
Sweet.
So I'll be there for that. So thank you guys for stopping by the Break Room. Talk with you guys soon.
Thanks again for listening to the Fitness Break Room podcast, everybody. You can follow us on Instagram at Fitness Break Room. And if you're looking to enter our monthly fitness swag giveaway, you can visit our website, fitnessbreakroom.com, and all that info is on the homepage. Hundreds of dollars worth of awesome stuff, so I wouldn't miss that. And then you can even subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and leave us a review if you're digging what we're bringing you. That would be awesome and very helpful. Okay, guys, have a beautiful week. Stay strong and always look out for the little guy.
Eyes touch the skies,